Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Monday, October 24th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend, coming off a very packed and exciting weekend in the world of sports. Had a ton of sports on: basketball, hockey, baseball, football. As the World Series is now set in the MLB, it is going to be the Astros versus the Phillies. So looking forward to that. Obviously should be a good World Series. Yankees get, crushed at home. Blow yesterday's game. An embarrassing way to end the year. You kind of know how I feel about the Yankees. I'm going to keep this podcast, positive and talk more about the Jets and the Giants today. If you really want to hear my thoughts on the Yankees, I'll be recording a podcast on my Apple podcast that I do, Bubbs Talking Baseball, talking about the Yankees, where they go from here, and also doing a little bit of a preview of the Phillies-Astros series as well. So I'll talk more about that on there. To keep it short and sweet, the Yankees get embarrassed. They get swept, and it's going to, the Yankees have a lot of issues. They have a lot of problems with this team. There is a lot of issues that run deeper than just the players on the field. You talk about the bullpen management from the manager. My biggest thing is it starts up top. That's really how I see it. It starts with the general manager. Even the owner. He's terrible too. Hal is an awful owner. He is nothing like, George or any of those guys that had any piece in the Yankees team. He's done nothing. He's awful. He's terrible. And it starts at the top. Yankees need to make changes. I don't know how many more years we can go with the same result at the end of the year, making the playoffs, but always losing, and it's always to the Houston Astros, to the time to finally say that Boone and Cashman should no longer have a job anymore in this team. Is Boone or is Cashman have a job for life here? Like, he's been here forever. And that 2009 World Series team, none of that was him. That was, Gene Michael and all them that put that team together. That was the core four. Sure, Cashman added a couple pieces here and there, but that was kind of the core four's final, hoorah. That wasn't Cashman. He didn't bring in the core four. Cashman's teams have been from 2010 to now, and that has been 0 World Series and a ton of embarrassing playoff exits. So I don't know how much longer we can take this year in and year out. So I'll leave it at that. Again, I'll go into more detail on my Bubbs Talking Baseball podcast. But today it's all about football. It's all about the Jets and the Giants as the two New York teams continue to win. It is, in fact, a Victory Monday. We'll get to the NFL games. We'll get to fantasy football, and we'll get to the New York Sports Update as well. Hockey, basketball, all that good stuff going on tonight. So looking forward to it. Got a little Rangers-Islanders tomorrow night. So that's always a good, fun rivalry to watch. Looking forward to that. And a lot to look forward to coming up this week with the Jets, getting ready to face up against the Patriots. A big win yesterday for the Jets. It was ugly. It wasn't pretty, but a win is the win. A win is a win, and you take them, and you're 5-2, and you're in the driver's seat now the rest of the way as the Jets improve to 5-2, fourth straight victory, and are now 4-0 on the road. True road warriors this New York Jets team is. So great to see also with the Giants. So with all that being said, this is the Bubbs on Sports podcast, and let's get right into it. So we're going to get to the football. We'll get to the rest of the games yesterday. Kind of some wild games. The Buccaneers losing to the Panthers, Packers losing to the Commanders. A lot of things that happened yesterday I don't think any of us saw coming. But we got to start today with the New York Jets, and we'll get to the Giants obviously as well. But with the New York Jets, look, yesterday was ugly. It was not a pretty victory. It was a long game. It just was a long game. It felt like it was taking hours, which I have no issue with because I love watching football. Have the games be 5 hours for all I care. I don't mind. But it was a long game. It wasn't pretty. It was ugly. But we knew going in that was going to be the case. We knew going in on the road it was going to be a tough game. Yes, Denver's not good offensively, but their defense is one of the best in the league, and their offense, has obviously struggled, but even their offense, it still does have some playmakers, and the run game led by Melvin Gordon can still do some damage. So let's not act like Denver's awful. They got a good team, and again, it was on the road, high altitude, and Denver, always a tough place to play in. High altitude is a big factor, and the crowd, no matter what, that place is always packed, and it was packed again yesterday, and it's always a tough environment to play in, period. No other way to put it. But the Jets went in there yesterday as a young team and gritted out a tough win and got the job done 16-9 and get the win and now improve to 5-2. And look, I don't want to hear, it was ugly and, this really wasn't a good win. There's no such thing as a bad win. There's no such thing as that. At the end of the day, there's two categories in sports that people care about. It's wins and losses. And if you're winning on Sundays, that's all people care about. I mean, it all is. And to show you that this New York Jets team is making progress and is truly getting better, this was a game that last year, obviously previous regimes would have definitely lost this game. But specifically last year under Saleh, this would have been a game that would have been lost. Definitely would have been a game the Jets would lose, where they're not getting anything done offensively. It's an ugly game, but they found a way to get the job done. And that hasn't happened in a very long time. There hasn't been many times where the Jets in the past decade have found ways to win games like this. This would be a game for the past 10 years the Jets would find a way to lose. And instead, yesterday, they found a way to win. And there's been a couple games like that this season. They found a way to win against the Browns. They found a way. Was it a miracle? Yes. 9 times out of 10, is it probably going to be a loss? Yes, but they found a way. That Steelers game, very easily the Steelers could have took control of that game. Jets didn't let it happen. They found a way. And again today, yesterday, the Broncos definitely could have won this game. This game was up in the air going into halftime. As a matter of fact, as a Jet fan, it kind of felt like we were losing at halftime, although we were winning by 1, which was kind of wild. But they got the job done. A game where it could have went either way, and the Jets, more talent, good, well coached, found a way to get the job done. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And the offense wasn't good. And obviously the Breece Hall injury news, which I don't really want to talk about because every time I talk about it, it just gets me just upset because he's been so good this year. I mean, I was talking yesterday on my In the Trench with Gang Green podcast that I do my recap. Like, you talk about all the rookies, Sauce Gardner, Breece Hall, even Garrett Wilson, although, Garrett Wilson slowed down a little bit, the past couple weeks just because of the fact that the offense hasn't had much of a rhythm. But you hope the offense can start to play well. And now with Breece Hall out, the offense is going to need, Zach Wilson specifically, he's going to need to step up. Now if Breece Hall's injury, and you just hope that the MRI today, comes back better than what they initially thought yesterday, which they believe it's a torn ACL, which would obviously sideline him for the rest of the year and maybe even a part of next season, although we'll see how it all plays out, given that it happened middle of the year. Usually the average timetable is like a whole year, but we don't want to get into that. Hopefully the MRI reveals something different, and maybe it's like a Zach Wilson injury where it's only maybe 3-4 weeks at most. That's kind of where we stand right now at Breece Hall, but it stinks because he wasn't just a top 10, top 5 running back. He wasn't just one of the best rookie running backs. He was one of the best running backs in football, and he had that 62-yard touchdown yesterday. And then without that touchdown, there's a good chance the Jets don't win this game. This game goes completely different without that 62-yard touchdown. I mean, winning all the Rookie of the Weeks. I mean, he's been so explosive, so quick. I talk about he makes guys miss with ease. It doesn't look like he's trying to do too much. He, makes a slight movement and the guys miss. He's just so, elusive. He's so, got a ton of energy. It stinks to see him go down. You feel for him because he was, just had such a great start. And the first couple weeks were a little choppy, but the last 4 or 5 weeks have just been, phenomenal. One of the best running backs in football the past couple weeks. And that's the simplest way I could put it. So it stinks to see him go down, but to try to be a glass half full perspective on things, look, you have Michael Carter as your backup running back, right? And not even a backup. He still, he still gets a lot of run. He's more than capable. Is he Breece Hall? No. But I talked about this yesterday. I'd rather Michael Carter out there, who was our premier back all of last season, than Frank Gore. If Frank Gore was behind Breece Hall, that would be a problem. Because Frank, it's not like we have him back there, right? You have Michael Carter, second year, tons of energy, also a very good running back. Is he Breece Hall? No. But I can name a lot of teams that I'm sure would take Michael Carter as their number one running back. And we've talked about the talent at the running back room. So that's tough. The offense wasn't good. It just wasn't. Wilson struggled a little bit. It is a very good defense, and I get that. Wilson does need to step up. And I hope, Corey Davis, hopefully, from what the sounds of it is, Corey Davis seems to be the least severe injury. AVT goes down yesterday. From the sounds of it, it might not be good, although we'll hear more on that today. Elbow injuries are kind of odd for football players. You don't hear that too much. Obviously we know about the Breece Hall news. And the Corey Davis Saleh said yesterday he would have been cleared to go. He was cleared to go out there and play. They just didn't want to push it or whatever. He just didn't feel right to go out there. So he seems like he'll be all right. Maybe he'll miss this week. I don't know. We'll see. It's hard to speculate today. They'll obviously find out, today and into Wednesday and all that stuff. We'll know more on all these injuries. And everybody else that, got injured, came back in. But, Wilson's got to step up. He does. It does make this Elijah Moore situation needing to, this Elijah Moore situation someone needs to light a fire under it. It has to, it has to go here. The Jets got to say this to Elijah Moore. They got to pull him into a room and say, look, you either play or not, because we could use Elijah Moore right now. We could, and we've always could. We've always could have used Elijah Moore. I mean, yesterday was a golden opportunity. Corey Davis is out. Breece Hall's out. You're stuck with Denzel Mims, Berrios, and Garrett Wilson and Jeff Smith, which Berrios and Wilson I trust. Mims and Jeff Smith are So you really got two receivers there. Elijah Moore could have had a big game yesterday. He could have, but he's not out there. So the Jets got to figure that out. You got to figure out whether or not, look, you're either in or you're out. And if you're not, well, then leave. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. That's how I see it. So we'll see how it develops this week. But then you go to the defensive side of the ball, and the defense was phenomenal yesterday. I mean, I got to give credit to Jeff Ulbrich. We crushed him at the beginning of this year. We crushed him last season. And that, crushing and that bashing was warranted because the defense was historically bad last year. But, I mean, man, oh, man, where would we be right now without a defense that is this good? I mean, this defense is lethal. I mean, you really have two number one cornerbacks. I talk about the running back room. Even with Michael Carter now having to step up the number one running back, and still being a solid option, and talking about how any team would pay a ton to get the Jets running back room. Obviously with Breece Hall healthy, but talking about the injury and stuff with that, which is awful. But back to my point with the cornerback room, I mean, the amount of teams out there that would take DJ Reed or Sauce Gardner as their number one cornerback. Talk about DJ Reed. We all know Sauce is number one, but DJ Reed's playing like a number one corner, and that's so refreshing. I mean, the years of overpaying for Tremaine Johnson, the years of Buster Screen getting a penalty every single play, Perry Nickerson out there in the secondary, the years of all those guys. Morris Claiborne was out there for a while. Oh, he wasn't awful, but a guy like him, Darryl Roberts. The years of all of these different corners. We never had that number one corner since Revis. We have now found that, and we really legitimately have two. And I'll tell you what, Michael Carter, MC2, and Brandon Echols are also two under-the-radar guys. I mean, it is phenomenal what this cornerback room is. And the defensive line, as much as we crushed it earlier in the year, Quinn Williams made a big play yesterday. He got pressure on Brett Rippon. Joyner ended up intercepting that. And that pressure that he got on Rippon forced him to deliver that throw, was inaccurate. Joyner picks it off. That starts up front. And that's how Saleh's defense is. You get pressure, and it force guys into mistakes, and we saw that firsthand yesterday with Joyner picking that ball off. You see Carl Lawson coming into his own. I mean, Bryce Huff getting a half a sack, Lawson as well. They didn't get a ton of pressure yesterday, but they did get in some big spots, which was good to see. But, I mean, Sauce Gardner yesterday, in the biggest moments of that game, absolutely shut down Cortland Sutton. And I was looking at the numbers yesterday. Cortland Sutton had 9 targets. He had 9 targets yesterday. He caught 3 of them. That just shows you how good this secondary, specifically Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, have been. Cortland Sutton had 3 catches for 23 yards, by the way, for those wondering what his final line was, and 9 targets. Jerry Jeudy got targeted at 11 times. He caught 7. He had a pretty good day. But, I mean, man, oh, man, this secondary is legit. And, again, we're not even talking amongst rookies. Sauce, call me biased. Sauce is a top 7, top 5 corner right now in football. Call me biased, but he is. Look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. And you watch him play, and he's even better. I mean, I put this yesterday. When are teams going to learn not to target him? I mean, he's just that good. He is, I haven't seen a corner this talented, as we all know, since Revis, and it's so refreshing. Defense as a whole yesterday stepped up. And you had that one drive where they marched down the field and ran the ball right up our gut, right up the gut. And it was just running, and a couple penalties. And there was a lot of penalties yesterday, and they got to clean those up, and it was ugly. But there was that one drive where the Broncos marched downfield, and it was like a long, 8-9 play drive that was just long, and it was just dragging. And after that drive was over, I said, that's got to be the only drive. That's got to be the only drive that this Jet defense lets up. They can't have another 2-3 of those drives where they just march down the field. And sure enough, the Jets did exactly that, where they stopped them. They found a way to stop the run game, and they found a way to get the job done. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So, this defense is legit. It is legit. It really is. And credit to Jeff Ulbrich. As much as we crushed him, whatever he has done, he's found a way. And I've always said it. It's not a lack of talent. This team's got talent. This defense has got talent. It was always about starting off to these fast starts. They would always come out slow, find themselves behind, and then they'd be behind the rest of the game. And that's not the case anymore. They're coming out quick. They're flying around the football. You got 2 number 1 cornerbacks. This defense is good. It is. And it is scary for opposing teams, but it's refreshing as a New York Jets fan because we haven't had this in so long. This is a defense that is so fast and high energy and explosive as a defense as we've seen since the Rex Ryan days. It really is the truth. It really is. So that was great to see yesterday, and the defense was the reason we won the game. And I said in my preview, they got to get pressure on Russell Wilson. At the time, it was Russell Wilson. Obviously, Brett Rippon takes over. They didn't get a ton of pressure on him, but in the big moments, they did. The one pressure that they got on him was the interception, and then there was also another sack, and I believe that was either on second or third down, which kind of stalled their drive too. They contained Judy and Sutton, and the Broncos really weren't in the red zone much. But the red zone, I said dominate in the red zone because the Broncos have been awful in the red zone, but they weren't in the red zone much yesterday. So Jets defense won this game. You got to give credit to them, and all we can do now as Jets fans are just hope and cross your fingers that Breece Hall's okay. Because I'm happy about the win. I'm thrilled. I'm pumped up. We're 5-2. I don't care how we get wins. If they're ugly or whatever, I feel the same. I feel the same way if you blow out a team 35-0 and then if you beat a team 3-0. I really do, because at the end of the day, it's a win. There's 2 categories. Tie, we'll put tie aside. Nobody cares about ties. There's 2 categories, wins and losses. And obviously there is ties, but we won't talk about that. Wins and losses. And at the end of the day, you get a win, it goes under the win column. It doesn't matter the score. It doesn't matter how you did it. It doesn't matter where you did it, when you did it, against who you did it against. You got the win, and that's all that matters. And it's Victory Monday. We're 5-2. And if the Jets play 500 football the rest of the way, which is realistic, which is a very realistic possibility, they're a 10-win team, and most likely they're in the playoffs. Even if they go 4 wins the rest of the year, they still finish above 500. And I could give you 3-4 games on their schedule that they should win. And they got a big game coming up this weekend, MetLife. You know the stadium's going to be roaring. It should be. It has to be. Against New England, against Belichick. I don't care if it's not Brady anymore. It's still Belichick. It's still one of the Bs. Dominate them, get the 6-2, and man, oh man, this is great right now. It really is. But you just got to hope that this Breece Hall injury news that's the only thing that's bringing me down is the Breece Hall injury news. I'm pumped up about the win, but the Breece Hall injury news just is so, it's awful. It really is. It stinks because how good he was playing, and we haven't seen a running back that good for a very long time. But again, you never know with the Jets. They've been wrong about injuries before. We all thought that the Wilson injury was something severe. It wasn't. They said that the Becton injury wasn't severe. It turned out to be. It was. Last season, they said that the Becton injury was, not bad, and he missed the entire year. The Wilson injury, you heard all these random people say, it's torn ACL. Sure enough, it wasn't. So you never know. You never know. Salah said it the one time. You sometimes walk off the field feeling like you maybe lost the player. You walked off a field thinking that maybe a guy's season's over with. You go to the MRI and you find out differently, and that's all we can hope. Hopefully this MRI reveals it's not as major as the initial test reveal. I know the initial test, usually it's pretty easy to detect a torn ACL and not a torn ACL, if it's stable or not, which isn't, I guess, hard to find. I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but you just hope that, the best case scenario is, because realistically, he's not going to come back this week. The realistic best case scenario is he misses 2 to 4 weeks, 3-4 weeks maybe. That's the realistic best case scenario. He's not going to miss a week. He's going to miss more than that. Nor are the Jets going to rush him back if it isn't anything major. So you just hope that it isn't anything major, and hopefully, the biggest thing is hopefully Breece Hall is still running this season. Hopefully Breece Hall is still going to play for the Jets this year at some point. We'll see. We'll see. So that's the only thing that's bringing me down on this Victory Monday, but a win that the Jets wouldn't have won last year, a win that the Jets wouldn't have won years prior, but a win is a win. And man, oh man, very, very fun time to be a New York Jet fan at 5-2 and in the driver's seat to possibly be a playoff team. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but looking good. So fired up about that. All right, now we go to the Giants, and the New York Football, am I right? I got to tell you what, Brian Daboll, every week I'm saying it, and I'm glad every week we're talking about wins. I'm glad, because I'm so glad every week we're talking about wins, because for the longest time now, every week it's been the same thing. Jets and Giants both lose, but now it's winning, and it's great, and the Jets and Giants are combined 11-3, which is just out of this world crazy. If you would have told me at the beginning of the season the Jets and Giants would be 11-3 combined coming out of Week 7, I would have thought you were crazy. I really would have. If you would have told me both teams would have been where they're at, I would have thought you were crazy. I thought the Jets were going to be competitive this year. I didn't think they'd be 5-2, and I thought the Giants were going to struggle this year. I had no way did I think they were going to be 6-1. Nor do I think anybody, including Giants fans, thought that. So Giants get the win yesterday, 23-17. And again, it was a typical New York Giants tough, gritty type of win where the defense is kind of bend but don't break. They make some plays. They do their job. Daniel Jones steps up. Offense, Saquon Barkley is just phenomenal. 110 yards rushing yesterday. Daniel Jones with 107 yards rushing yesterday, including a rushing touchdown. He had a really good, nice throw to Darius Slayton. I was able to see this whole game. I was able to watch this game because obviously the Jets were coming on 4 o'clock. That's the one bonus of 4 o'clock games, so I can't stand them. But, Giants got the job done. And I got to give credit. You obviously got to give credit to Daboll, because Daboll is clearly getting the most out of Daniel Jones. And that at the beginning of the season was the biggest question mark going into the year. Is your biggest thing is you want to come out of this year knowing whether or not Daniel Jones is the guy or not. And Brian Daboll, what he has done is he has come in, he has opened up the offense, he has put his spin on things, he has kind of welcomed Daniel Jones into his scheme, and what we have seen is a completely different football player. It really is. We have seen a completely different football player, and that's coaching. That is coaching right there. That is setting up your quarterback to succeed in this league. Something the Giants haven't done at all. They haven't. They bringing in, Pat Shurmur, Joe Judge, all those guys, specifically Joe Judge, obviously being the most recent, to try and help Daniel Jones to be the guy that people want him to be. It's been awful. Daniel Jones has been under some terrible regimes, and they kind of ruined him a little bit. But Brian Daboll bringing in a legit head coach, an offensive mind, a quarterback coach that you saw what he did in Buffalo, turning Josh Allen to Josh Allen now. Josh Allen was awful in his rookie year. He was bad. There was some people in Buffalo that wanted him out because they knew he would be a project coming out of college, coming out of Wyoming, a small name school. When you see quarterbacks in that draft that come out of USC, that come out of, Oklahoma, being Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, and then the third pick in the draft, the third quarterback in the draft was Allen. Turns out he's the best one out of the entire draft, him and Lamar Jackson, because Rosen, Darnold, and Mayfield are all busts. But they knew he was going to be a project, but he started out poorly, and Daboll helped him. They gave him a number 1 receiver, and look what he's turned into. And what I can say about Daniel Jones is he's doing this without a legit number 1 receiver. You could say, oh, Darius Slayton's pretty good. I know Wan'Dale Robinson got a lot of targets yesterday. But, Darius Slayton's not a number one receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson's not a number one receiver. Your so-called number one receiver, big name, and, in terms of big name would be Golladay. He's not even playing, right? So they don't have a number receiver. You bring in a number one receiver for Daniel Jones, this offense can even be better. But they found a way to win yesterday. And I got to give credit to Daniel Jones. I do. As much as I crush him on this show, as much as I've, over the past couple years, from the day he was drafted, I didn't think he was that good. Coming out of Duke, I didn't understand the reasoning behind the Giants picking him. But they did. It looked ugly the first couple years. I've been bashing him, rightfully so. But, you got to give credit where credit's due, and I always say that. I'll bash you, and I'll give credit. And you got to give credit to Daniel Jones because he is a completely different quarterback. Last year, Daniel Jones, and the years prior to this season, completely different quarterback. Doesn't turn the ball over nearly as much. Makes a lot smarter decisions. Takes what the defense is giving him, working within the offense. And it all starts at the top with Dable. The Giants found the right guy. They bring in Brian Dable. Daniel Jones has a legit quarterback's head coach on his side. It's phenomenal. The Giants have gotten it right. And the Jets look like they've gotten it right as well. So, great time to be a New York football fan. Now, with the Jets, you would like to see more out of the quarterback, and hopefully that's coming. But in terms of coaching, Brian Dable and Robert Saleh seem like they really got their stuff in place because, man, oh man, it's looking good. And the Giants got job done. And, again, Daniel Jones with that really nice throw to Slayton. He's working within the offense. His running ability is pretty underrated, I'll tell you that. It's starting to make its way throughout the league, but people, especially now, you hear more about the running. You hear more, his ability to run and his ability to stretch plays are really starting to kind of make its way around the NFL in terms of his ability because he's pretty mobile. He might not seem mobile. You look at the guy and you're probably like, oh, this dude's not mobile, but he's a pretty mobile quarterback, and he's shown that, especially this season. Just phenomenal job by him. 19 of 30, 222 yards, 1 touchdown, a QBR of 87.1, overall rating of 94. Barkley, 24 carries, 110 yards. He's definitely back. Daniel Jones, 11 carries, 107 yards. He also had a rushing touchdown. Slayton was your leading receiver with 58 yards and a touchdown. Wan'Dale Robinson had his best game as a young rookie, 6 catches, 50 yards. He got targeted a lot. So, a couple big plays for the Giants. 32 yards, 17 yards, 19 yards. A couple big plays for the New York Giants were obviously, the big deciding factors in this game. And, they were, good balanced offense. Threw the ball 30 times, ran the ball 39 times. So, that's a balanced offense, and that's what Dable's going to bring to the table. So, especially when you got a running back like Saquon Barkley, who is a guy that's, having a complete bounce back year, second in the league in rushing yards. He's already at 726 rushing yards. To put it into perspective, last year he played 13 games last year at 593 rushing yards. This year he's played 7 games. He's got 726. He's second in football, tied 7th with 4 touchdowns, first in attempts, and 18th in average at 5.1. So he's top 20 in the major categories. He's going to be way over 1,000 yards this season. He'll probably get 1,000 yards. Let's say he gets 100 yards the next 3 weeks. He'll be over 1,000 yards by week 10. There's a good chance he's a 1,600-yard rusher this year. There's a real good chance. Call me crazy, but it's not. His career is 1,307 his rookie year. And I would be interested in the look, and they obviously have an extra game than his rookie year. I'd be interested to see where he was at coming out of week 7 as his rookie year in terms of rushing yards. I bet you could find it. I could find it. I don't have it up right now, but I'd be interested. Because the way he's going right now, it's not crazy to say Saquon could be a 1,400, 500-yard rusher this year. He's already at 726, and it's week 7. That's about 100 yards a week. Not about, that is. So, got to have credit there. New York football continues to dominate. 11-3 combined record. Bills obviously had a bye week if you're counting them as well. But man, oh man, an exciting time around the NFL, around the New York football. And it's just crazy how tides turn. Like earlier this year, or not earlier this year, but I should say during the summer, we were all talking about the possibility of a Yankees-Mets World Series, right? All the hype, all the anticipation around it. And then to get Mets losing the wild card round, Yankees get embarrassed in the ALCS, and now we're talking about the football. And hey, maybe both football teams could be in the postseason, and maybe they go on and do some great things. But I mean, it's just we just got to enjoy the ride. As a Jet fan, you just got to enjoy it. You're 5-2. You don't want to look too ahead week by week. And for the Giants, for the Jets, obviously it's on to New England. They'll get the Patriots this week. And as for the Giants, they'll head out to Seattle to play the Seahawks, who are an interesting but feisty team led by Geno Smith out there in Seattle. So that should be an interesting matchup there. As for the rest of the NFL, there was some really interesting games yesterday. Chargers lose against Seattle, which was interesting. Didn't see that coming. Packers lose against the Commanders, which is just bad. I mean, to see the Packers lose like this is just really shocking. Really missed Devontae Adams. You see that the Cowboys beat the Lions, but barely. But the biggest surprise yesterday was the Panthers beating the Bucs, 21-3. I mean, that was the biggest surprise. I mean, if you're sitting here telling me you saw that the Panthers were gonna beat the Buccaneers a week after trading, CMC, I would have thought you were crazy. But I mean, they did their job. Dante Foreman, I mean, he had 15 carries yesterday, 118 yards, almost 0.1 under 8 yards per carry. 60 was his longest. He was great. Chuba Hubbard played well. I mean, Tom Brady and this Buccaneers offense is embarrassing. It really is. It is embarrassing. It is one of the, you watch it, and it's one of the worst in football. It really is. Statistically, I don't know if it is. A Tom Brady-led offense, I don't know if it would ever be actually statistically in the bottom ranks. But watching that game yesterday, seeing it on Red Zone and watching, obviously, the Giants-Jaguars kind of, looking at everything. It was, obviously with the Jets playing at 4 o'clock, was able to see a lot of the other games too, which was good. It was like, watching that game, it was just like, Brady's getting pressured. He doesn't have much time in the pocket. Some of the throws he delivers are bad. There was that one throw to Evans that was wide open. He should have caught it. I mean, inexcusable. He was wide open, should have caught it. And then there was another throw to Evans, which was high. He couldn't catch it, but it was a bad throw. I mean, there was a couple times where I can recall there was a 4th down play, and Brady had like a clean pocket. He just like threw it in the dirt. It was just like, he looks bad. He looks bad. Him and Rodgers, for the first time ever in their career, look like they're aging. And I don't know why I said this when I said it the day he unretired. I don't know why Brady came back. I really didn't. He's got all the off-the-field issues, which I'm not going to get into with, his wife and everything. I'm not going to get into that stuff because that's not what this podcast is about. But, from the sports perspective of it, like, I don't understand why he came back. What does Brady have to prove? What does he have to prove? He's won 1 billion Super Bowls. He's a he's MVP. He's MVP. What more does he have to do? He won one in Tampa, so he won with both teams. He won $1 million with New England. What more does he have to do? What does he want? What does he want? More rings so he can, what? I don't understand it. I don't know, but the Bucs look bad. And for Todd Bowles, and I don't think this isn't a Todd Bowles issue. Look, Bruce Arians could be the head coach right now. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. It really isn't. I don't think so anyway. Maybe that's just me, but I don't think it matters. I know a lot of people want to say, oh, yeah, bad, Todd Bowles, we saw this with the Jets. He's not a good coach. He's a very good coordinator, and maybe he's not a good coach. Maybe he isn't a good coach. Maybe that's just a simple fact. But I do think a lot of this, too, lies on Brady because he's just not playing. He's not playing well. And this Buccaneers offense isn't playing well. I'll tell you this about Bowles. His defense, their defense is fine, and they got some injuries on the back end. They let up 21 points yesterday. I mean, with Tom Brady at your quarterback, if a team scores 21, it should put you in a position to win. When your offense scores 3 points, it's going to be tough to win football games. But, I mean, the Bucs look bad. And I'm glad. I don't like the Bucs, but, I mean, I would like to see Bowles do a little bit better. I mean, I as a Jet fan, I didn't hate Bowles. I hated Gaze more than I hated Bowles. The one thing I could say about Bowles' teams is they always competed for him. They always played for him. They did. They were always in games. Gaze's teams were never in games. I don't want to go down that road. We're 5-2 right now. We got our coach. I don't want to go down that road. But just giving you some background on him. I mean, it's just, I don't know. They're not good. They're not good. I mean, can you imagine a world? I mean, the rate we're going, Now, the NFC South is awful. The NFC South is just atrocious. The Buccaneers currently lead that division, even though they're 3-4. And the Falcons are 3-4, and they're second in the division. The only reason, then it's the Panthers at 2-5 and the Saints at 2-5. Everyone talks how bad the Panthers are. Saints are right there with them. So the NFC South is interesting. Mathematically, if the Buccaneers lose this upcoming week and the Falcon and Panthers win, they're 3-5 and the Buccaneers are 3-5. So that's how weird and crazy the NFC South is. But if the Buccaneers, I can't imagine a world where the Buccaneers don't make the playoffs. I just can't. I don't know. That'd be crazy if Tom Brady's doesn't. When's the last time Tom Brady didn't make the playoffs? I would love to know that stat. When's the last time he wasn't in it? Or when was the last time he didn't get past the first round too? I'm sure that goes way back too, because every year he's in like the NFC or AFC championship. So that was definitely a pretty wild, interesting game there. It was bad football by Tampa, but a good win for Carolina. Dolphins got the win last night. Seahawks as well. I'll tell you what, Geno Smith played well, and the Chargers look bad. Herbert's struggling a little bit. I know Keenan Allen was back yesterday. They're struggling. They're not looking very good. I think we're all kind of surprised. They are 4-3. It's not like they're it's not like they're 3-4, 2-5, or anything like that. But they're 4-3, and they're not playing their best football. But that's the positive thing is they still are found a way to be 4-3. They've missed Keenan Allen a couple weeks, even with him back yesterday. He was kind of limited. You get him back fully into the mix. This Chargers team, they're too good not to, Justin Herbert and this Chargers team, it's too good not to, kind of bust out of this little bit of a kind of a tough stretch. They were on a 3-game win streak up until yesterday, but they're not playing their best football. They aren't. Now they do have a bye week coming up, which is good. They'll get healthy. Health's been a big issue with them this year. Keenan Allen get fully back, and then after that, you get the Falcons. And you get that Falcon, and you should win that game. But then after that, there's four games on your schedule coming up there where it might be a little tough. You got San Francisco, Kansas City, Arizona, and the Raiders. 3 of the 4 on the road. You get Kansas City at home. But, Arizona with DeAndre Hopkins seems to be a little bit of a different team. San Francisco, we all know Jimmy G, and CMC. I know they lost yesterday, but that was his first game. They should be better. The Raiders, despite their record, they're talented. They've got talent. They're not maybe they aren't well coached, but they got talent, and they're always going to be a tough matchup. You can't overlook them. And then, obviously, Kansas City is good. I don't have to explain what Kansas City is. So, then you get Miami, who's interesting. Then Tennessee, Indianapolis, who's winnable. But then you get the Rams and then the Broncos. That's your rest of the season. So, the Chargers schedule's tough. It is. So, this bye week comes at a right time. They're 4-3. They're not playing their best football. But again, if this Chargers team can find its groove, I still think they could be a 12-win team. If they find their groove, they can be. That's how talented they are. They just haven't, and the health's been a little bit of that factor. So, Packers lost yesterday. They're 3-4 now, which is wild. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are no longer the kings of the NFL. They're the old guys now on the street. Ravens, Browns. Ravens get the win close. Was it a false start? I don't know. I don't think so, but obviously, that was the call there. And, those are kind of your games. Joe Burrow balled out. Cowboys, ugly return for Dak, but they get the job done, and that's all that matters. Their defense stepped up. Goff threw 2 picks, got sacked 5 times. The Lions are they're bad. They're bad. They're 1-5. I'll tell you what, I think this is the problem with the Lions. I like the whole Dan Campbell stuff about, the go team go, like we got the pieces here, but it's almost like they don't plain and simple, they don't have enough talent. Like Dan Campbell is trying to do something with basically just a pile of nothing. And I think and it's not a bad thing, I guess, because if you want to try to work with what you got. But I think this Lion team needs to do a better job of putting talent on this roster. And I know they were missing, Monroe St. Brown got taken out early and all that stuff. I get all that, and he's been hurt a little bit this year, and they've been missing some pieces. Don't get me wrong, DeAndre Swift as well. But in a way, it's almost like they need more they just need more talent. Like, as much as Dan Campbell and in the HBO Hard Knocks can see him, yelling at the guys and saying, "I believe in you," nobody believes in us. Like, that whole mantra of it's just not working. Like, you need more talent. Like, that's how I see it. Like, Jared Goff's just not good enough. This defense just isn't good enough. At the end of the day, you need more talent. You can, you could talk so much to your guys. At the end of the day, you need more talent. And that is now back-to-back weeks where you were non-competitive, which is rare. Detroit's usually competitive, but that's now back-to-back weeks. They got shut out against New England. You had a bye week last week, and now you get embarrassed against the Cowboys on offense. I mean, your defense did a fine job yesterday. But the offense getting sacked 5 times and throwing 2 interceptions is inexcusable. And your schedule doesn't get any easier. You got Dolphins coming up, then Packers, which, yeah, on paper, those are 2 winnable games because of, Dolphins are going to be tougher. But Packers, yeah, I guess a winnable game. But I don't see the Packers. I don't see you beating the Packers. Packers, Aaron Rodgers always had your number. Then you have the Bears, which is winnable. Then it's the Giants, Bills, Jaguars, Vikings, Jets. Those are tough games. Then it's the Panthers, that's winnable, I guess, Bears, and then the Packers. So, and what do they get? Maybe 4 or 5 wins, but I don't know. I think they just need more talent. And they've been competitive. I mean, they were competitive to start the year, don't get me wrong, but now the signs are starting to show, like, now they're going up against more talented rosters, and now it's just like, it just doesn't match up. It just doesn't line up. It just doesn't. So, I don't know. Lions, it'd be interesting to see how much longer Dan Campbell has a job there. If it is much longer, I mean, the guy, they played for him, but it's just almost like the roster just isn't good enough. And at the end of the day, that sometimes happens where you could preach as much as you want. You could get hyped as much as you want. If you're not talented enough, you're not going to ultimately win football games. So, but yeah, so that's what I got for the NFL. And this week, I still have to calculate my game picks record. So I'll try to get if I remember, get you that on Wednesday. I kind of forgot to do it. So I'll still have to calculate that. So I'll get you that soon. I got some NBA games on tonight. Knicks, Magic. And you got the Nets, Grizzlies for the locals. So Nets will head out to Memphis for the first road trip of the season. Knicks will welcome the Magic to the Garden. The Magic aren't good. They're 0-3. So that should be, probably a win there for them. Timberwolves, Spurs, Trailblazers, Nuggets, Jazz, Rockets, Bulls, Celtics, Heat, Raptors, 76ers, Pacers, and as well as hockey today. You got some good games on as well. Devils, Capitals, Senators, Stars, Blues, Jets, Penguins, Oilers, Golden Knights, Maple Leafs, Canucks, Hurricanes on tonight. Also some good college football games over the weekend as well. All right, so as for the fantasy football or fantasy basketball, I won in my league, so I'm 1-0 there. Fantasy football was a good week. I won in 3 of the 4 leagues. I'm going to lose. Most likely, I'm going to lose in 1 league. Now, mathematically, it's not impossible. I'm currently losing by 49. So I need David Montgomery and Jacoby Myers to get me 50. So it's not going to probably happen, but it's possible for a receiver and a running back to get you 50. Now, right now, they're projected 19-11 or 13-11. So I'm projected to finish. I'm at 82 right now. I'm projected to finish at 107. So I'm projected to get or finish out at 107. So what, 29 points, I guess it is, that I'm projected to finish with. So with that being said, I need 50 points. So Jacoby Myers and David got Montgomery. Montgomery's going to need to have like 30 points, or Jacoby Myers is. It's not impossible. I mean, you could have, if Jacoby Myers scores 3 touchdowns and has like 60 yards, what is that? 60, which would be, that's 6 points for every 10 yards. So he'd need like he could always have 2 touchdowns and like 100 yards, or 3 touchdowns and like 50 yards, which would get him around 20-25. And I would need Dave Montgomery to get like 25-30. So it's not impossible, especially when you see what McCole Hardman did yesterday, what Tyler Boyd did yesterday. The only issue is the difference in offenses. I mean, McCole Hardman had 3 total touchdowns, 28 points. I left him on my bench, which doesn't matter because I put Tyler Boyd in, and I mean, he put up a lot. I should have probably played Keenan or him over Keenan Allen. I picked him up because of that, because Keenan Allen is questionable, but it is what it is. So it'll be interesting. I do have Patriots defense going in my 1 league, which it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm going to win that league, but I do have Patriots defense going there. So, I'll win that league, though. I mean, I'm winning 107-64. So it's sometimes I'll bench my defense. Like, if I'm winning by 1, I'll bench my defense. If my opponent's got nobody else going, I'll bench my defense if I'm winning by like 1, just because it's just you don't want to risk them getting negative points. But I'm winning this by like 50 right now, so the defense is going to get negative 50, so I'll keep them in. But some possible plays tonight. Jacoby Myers is always an option. Got Stevenson, who's been very good for them this season. Obviously, David Montgomery for the Bears. I know Darnell Mooney out there for a couple people. I wouldn't play any quarterbacks in this game. It's probably going to be a low-scoring game, but Jacoby Myers with a couple bye weeks this week, I put him in, which I don't think is going to be a bad play. With Cook being out, Thielen being out, obviously, if you like to go 2 tight end set. Obviously, a guy like Darren Waller was out this week, so I put Jacoby Myers in at flex. I liked what I've seen out of him in the past couple weeks. He put up 24 and 10. In the 4 weeks this season, he's had double-digit points. He missed 2 weeks, weeks 3 and 4, but the 4 out of the 6 weeks he's played this year, he's had double-digit points, 10, 18, 24, and 10. So they like to get the ball to him, so I like that play tonight as well. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, though. So that's what I got for fantasy football, and your Victory Monday podcast. Jets get the win. Giants get the win. Great time to be a New York football fan. And, Victory Monday. Great. It's awesome. Love these Victory Mondays. Always fun. Always enjoy it. And, Jets are 5-2. Giants 6-1. And Giants now will face Seattle, and the Jets and MetLife better be roaring this weekend against New England. I mean, this weekend it's going to be exciting. I'm fired up. I'm ready for it. Looking forward to it. And, should be fun. So that will do it for another episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. To all those out there, enjoy the rest of your Victory Monday. As always, hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching.